Good day, everyone. Neophyte DAG bringing you another message today. And this one is a very interesting message, interesting topic. It's called Herbs, Trees, and Fruits Shall Be Your Meat. And this message is taken directly from Genesis 1, verse 29. It's the instructions given by God when he created the spirit man and woman, and it says, trees, herbs, and fruits shall be for meat. That's what the spirit man and woman is going to eat in order to maintain that spiritual connection to God. Further on in the Bible, there are some other instructions that were given, but we'll focus on this one for now. And why it's so important? The physical body requires certain blood flow, magnetic energy flow, and etheric energy flow to be going through the body. If the body, which is also called the vessel, the temple, isn't at its optimal, meaning it's the ideal way it should be in order to flow these energies, then the energies and the blood flow will not flow properly and you'll have malfunction in the body. The body has to be in tip-top shape, in optimal condition, generally for the body to do the things it needs to do to attach itself to the physical and the spiritual as a united one being, one entity, manifesting all the powers of God that was put in the spirit man that's going to be manifested in the physical man and woman. Bottom line, the physical body should maintain a pH level at a certain point in order for it to operate at an optimal level, pH 7.0 and above. If your body pH is below that, the body is going to go into ailment, sickness, and all these infestation, viruses, and so on is going to manifest itself upon the body. So the physical body has to remain 7.0 and above. Therefore, the food that you eat has to carry that same energy, that pH energy that the body needs in order to stay 7 and above. If you're eating food that is below 7, the body is going to stay below 7, and ailments, acidic ailments, will take over the body. So if you want that body to stay above 7, you have to give it food that is above 7. And trees, herbs, and fruits are generally what you would eat to keep that pH level of 7.0 and above. Meat and the other stuff doesn't do that. No matter what someone might tell you or whomever might try to convince you of, it will not keep it at that 7.0. And that certainly wasn't the instruction that was given in Genesis 1 verse 29 for the spirit, man, and woman in order to have that connectivity to the Most High, God, Allah, Jah. We'll do a comparison of the instructions that were given to the spirit man and woman and the physical man and woman around food, what should be put into the body. Genesis 1 verse 29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. It doesn't mention anything about flesh right here. This is Genesis 1, verse 29 for the spirit man and woman. Let's look at the food instructions given to the physical man, woman, and that's in Genesis 9, verse 3 and Genesis 9, verse 4. So these instructions were given at a time in which Noah passed on the instructions to his 3 sons. And during that time, Noah knew that man was going to become weakened. Man was going to fall into a state where the energy of God isn't flowing 100% to man. So man has to take certain precautionary measures in order to maintain that connectivity to God. So this was the instruction that was given. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. That means you're going to want to eat everything that's not nailed down. Any and everything that's around you, you're going to want to eat it, even as the green herbs that has been given to you. So you're going to want to eat the green herbs. You're going to want to eat every other thing that moves. because that's the mindset you'll be in at that time. But here is the follow-up to that instruction. But flesh with the life thereof, with the life, which is blood, shall you not eat. So yeah, you're going to want to eat everything and everything you can find here and put your hands and your mouth on. But flesh, which is of the blood, you shall not eat. So it's putting you back into Genesis 1 verse 29. You might be tempted by all these things, but if you eat them, something bad is going to happen to you. Stay close to Genesis 1 verse 29. Go back to the herb bearing, because if you want to maintain that spiritual connection, the meat, which is of the flesh, which is not given in the first instruction, that's the first instructions given in the book. You're going to be moving away from the spirit, man and woman, if you start moving into flesh with the life, with the blood. So that's the comparison I want to draw, that, yeah, there are two different beings going on, two different instructions. So if you want to be connected with the spirit being, then go for Genesis 1 verse 29. If you want to be connected with the physical being, you can try out Genesis 9 and 3 and try to eat every moving thing, but that's not what it's telling you to do when you look at 9 verse 4. Don't mess with the flesh, which is of the blood, shall you not eat. Once more, this is the instructions given to the spirit man and woman by God about what should go into the body as food. Herbs, trees shall be your meat. And this is the instructions given to the physical man and woman by God to help the physical man and woman during the time that they're going to be at their weakest, in order for them to survive and keep that connectivity to the spirit man. The flesh with the life, which is blood, shall you not eat. Here is the Genesis 9 verse 4 instructions again repeated in the book of Jubilees, Jubilee 6 verse 7. So Genesis 9 verse 4 was actually pulled out of Jubilee 6 verse 7. But what's missing in Genesis 9 verse 4 is the part highlighted here for you, which gives you more insight on what the instruction is telling you. Let's read the highlighted portion. For the life of all flesh is in the blood. The blood is in the flesh. No matter if you roast it, broil it, wash it 1,000 times, the blood still remains in it, the essence of the blood. And you don't want to get that blood, within your system, because that's what's going to weaken the body and bring all these negative things to the body. And what I've done here, I've put a side-by-side comparison of Genesis 9 verse 4 and Genesis 9 verse 5 with the book of Jubilee 6 verse 7. They're identical, but in the conventional Bible, the Genesis, that important additional instruction is left out. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, telling you. And then if you consume the blood, your blood will be required. What it's telling you, you start eating that blood in that meat, you are going to die. There's no other prettier way to put it. The blood of that flesh going to be required, your blood. So take your time, go through the instructions, become familiar with it, because it's going to be important for you to know exactly what it's saying. Further instructions, a lot of people generally jump to Leviticus. In Leviticus, it's telling you to eat all sorts of things, cows with cod and, cleft hooves versus non-cleft hooves, all kind of different things. Yes, it's there in Leviticus, because at that time, it's known that man is going to become weakened and eat everything that he sees. And it's giving you some instructions on what is still going to kill you, but it's going to kill you a lot slower. But it has to be sanctified by a high priest of God in order for those things to be consumed. So it's not that you're going to go out and consume them on your own without a priest sanctifying it. A priest of God, a priest of children of Israel, at this point in time, if you look around you and you can find a true priest of the children of Israel, then maybe he or she can sanctify it. But those priests of God, of the children of Israel, haven't been in existence for thousands of years. So there's no one there to sanctify that meat for you before you consume it. So Leviticus, all that cod and hoofs and so on, that's out the door, because you do not have a high priest to sanctify and remove that negative, that evil that's within that blood out of it before you consume it. So you're right back to Genesis 1 verse 29 and Genesis 9 verse 4. Do not eat it. And that's where Leviticus 17 verse 14 kicks in now. It's saying the children of Israel, if you're of the children of Israel, this is talking about you who are the children of Israel. They're the Shemitic, the Hermetic people of dark skin complexion. You're the ones who I'm talking to at this point in time. But it's saying, you shall not eat the blood of no manner of flesh. Not supposed to eat it. Leviticus is telling you, if that priest isn't sanctifying that meat properly for you, you shall not eat it. And I'm not talking about, the rabbi, priest, or whomever that you might think. Nope, they're not the children of Israel priest. So you're stuck again with Leviticus 17 verse 14, shall not eat that flesh. And whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. Again, it goes back to, you're going to end up killing your own self with that meat. You're cutting off your own self. Leviticus 17 verse 14 sums it up in one place for you if you're going to be eating that meat that's not properly sanctified. If you want to go into Deuteronomy and tell me all that Deuteronomy is telling you should eat, you should read this verse before you jump to that section again. Only be sure that you eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. Back to the same point again. The flesh has the blood in it. And if it's not, the flesh isn't properly sanctified and made as an offering to the Lord, Thoth and Allah, then you cannot eat it. It still has that negative element to it. The blood is in the flesh and you cannot separate it on your own. Someone who's really ordained by the Lord, Thoth, by Allah, is the only one that's qualified to do it, and you cannot. So when in doubt, go back to the default. Do not eat the flesh, which is the blood, and as the life thereof, because your life will be required for whatever blood that you're consuming. It's going to weaken you, and you're going to be in a very weakened and detrimental state. And certainly, your physical being will be cut off from your spiritual being. Don't want that to happen. Go to First Maccabees, spending a lot of time on this because I want to make sure you get the message that I'm trying to pass on to you. In Maccabees, this is talking about the children of Israel. It's a story of what happened to the children of Israel when the Greeks first took over Egypt and tried to impose on them that they should eat meat that they knew by their connection with their high priest, by their connection with the Lord Thoth, by their connection with Allah, Jah, God, the Most High, that they should not, because they're going to be weakened. So let's read Maccabees 1, 1 Maccabees 1, verse 63. Wherefore, the rather to die, that's the option that they're faced with. You're going to die if you don't eat it, because they're being forced to eat it by the Greeks. You have to eat it or we're going to kill you, or not eat it. They said, okay, we'll rather die. So let's continue. That they, the children of Israel, might not be defiled with meats, that they might not profane the holy covenant, the agreement that they've made with God and with the Lord thought that they're not going to eat these things. So then they died. They rather die than to eat those meats. But over the years, since we were that dedicated to the agreement that we've made with the Lord and listening to the commandment of God that we should not eat meat, that we should have a vegetable, a green and a herb diet and fruit diet, we have moved a long way from that, where we were forced. Some of us took the option to eat it rather than die, and we continued along that path. But what I'm here to tell you is not what you're used to doing or not what you're used to hearing, but I'm here to tell you the things that you don't want to hear, but I still have to tell you. We, as a people, as children of Israel, this is where we were at that point in time, that we would rather die than to eat the meat that the Gentiles, the Eve, the Caucasian, and the serpent wanted us to eat, because we knew what it would do to us. But we have been far removed from that, and we're now trying to find our way back to where we were, and this is part of the journey. We'll go to Luke 15, verse 16. This is the story about the prodigal son, and we've covered that in another message, where the prodigal son is of the Shem line, the Semitic line, the children of Israel, and what they were going through at the hands of the Japhet lines, the Caucasian, the Eve, the Gentile line. And in this verse it says, and he would, it's talking about the Shem line at that time, and he would feign means willing to, have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat. What does that mean? That's the literal meaning. Let's dig into the deeper spiritual meaning. Husk is describing the mucus, the bronchitis, the infection, the parasites that are in the meat that we were being given. And the swine is someone it's a despicable person that eats those kind of things, the ungodly person, which are the Gentiles, and the Gentile is working in conjunction with the serpent, the reptile, in order to give the children of Shem those food to eat in order to weaken them. So that's what this is telling you, that these two beings or races are going to put on you, the Shem line, these types of food to weaken you, to pull you away from who you truly are. Because once the Shem line take that meat within them, they instantly become weakened, because they're moving away from the instructions that their God gave them. Genesis 1, verse 29, Genesis 9, verse 4. And once you move away from those instructions, you're vulnerable and at the mercy of Eve, the Gentile, the Caucasian, and the serpent. And let's finish Luke 15, 16. And no man gave unto him, no human, it's a non-human, that gave unto him, that died. Someone else who is not human gave that meal, that husk onto you. And where am I getting this information about husk? Let's find the meaning of husk. This is on Google, the meaning of husk. Let's read it together. Bronchitis, which is mucus, in cattle, sheep, or pig, caused by parasitic infestation. So that's what you're pulling into your body when you're eating cattle, sheep, pig, and chicken. No different. It's coming into your body, but in Luke, it's putting it to you in a parable form. And you have to pull out the true meaning out of it. When you dig deeper, you have to research what it's telling you. And that's what it's telling you. Bronchitis, which is mucus, is in the meat that you're eating. And it's typically when you start coughing up mucus, those husky cough, that's how you know that it's entering the body. Because after a while, the body is going to be filled with mucus and cause that husky cough. And that's what The prodigal son story is telling you about the food that you're going to be putting in your body, given to you by a non-human, which is the serpent, and is hybrid between the serpent and the Eve race, which is called the Gentile. Let's move on. If the food will not positively affect your body and the flow of your energy within your body, do not put it in. When in doubt, go back to herb-bearing, trees, fruits, and those are the natural one, not the unnatural vegetation and fruits that were made by man later on, but the one that has a seed within it, herb-bearing seed. For example, seedless grape. How did they plant that tree for a seedless grape? Let's think about that. If you want to plant a grape tree from a seedless grape, how do you do that? There's no seed. So obviously that wasn't planted or given to you by God, because everything that he gives you has a seed and that you can replant and make another similar tree. So anything you're getting that has seedless, that's not natural. So that's the thing that you have to watch out for in man trying to trick you now, because you're eating or trying to eat from a vegetation, from a green, from a fruit, but he's trying to trick you at the same time by not giving you a herb-bearing seed type of fruit or vegetable. One of the things that you need to know, what's in the ingredients of what you're eating, because there are all types of unnatural stuff, and you want to make sure none of the unnatural stuff is in there. If you can't pronounce the name of that ingredients that's in your food, then it shouldn't be in your body. If you're getting triglyceride, magnesium, and all kind of complicated name, it shouldn't be in the food that you're eating, and it shouldn't be going into your body. If you don't know the word and know how to pronounce it, don't eat it. Do the ingredients have the word acid in it? If it does, don't eat it. Acid is in the pH level of below 6. Sometimes it's below 7, but I would say below 6. Once you start going below 6 in the pH, it's acid you're putting in. You're basically poisoning your body. You're drinking acid, you're eating acid. So once you see acid in it, you know, whatever acid that they're using for preservative, whatever type of reason, stay away from it. It shouldn't be going into your body. Anything acidic is going to pull your body to below 7, and you always want your body to be 7 and above. So no manifestation of disease, infection, or ailment can come to your body. What it's going to do while it's in your body, you got to know that. What is that food going to do? Is it going to raise your pH? Is it going to raise the purity of your blood? Is it going to do something positive, or is it going to do something negative? If you have no idea what it's going to do to enhance your health, then go find out before you put that thing in your body. And once it goes in, you got to figure out how it's going to come out. How it's going to come out. Is it something that's going to let you pass it out quickly or easily, or is it something that's going to just stay in there? If it's just going to stay in, you don't want that, because every natural thing is going to go in your body and then come out after it has performed its function. What's the function of food? To energize the body. When you eat a food, fruit, plants, all you're doing is you're taking that sun's energy that's within that plant or fruit, extracting it, putting it into your body, and then the trash from the fruit and the vegetable, you push it out your body as waste. That's all you're doing. You're transferring energy from the plant, from the fruit to your body. If you're pulling in magnetic energy, then very likely you'll find out you need less food, because you're getting the natural energy from the earth and from the sun. But until you're able to do that, it's coming in from the food you eat as energy. The body pulls out the energy, distributes it to whatever parts of the body that needs that energy, that mineral, and then the waste comes out. some precautionary instructions that you need in order to make sure you know what's going in your body. Do not eat and consume these things. They're not part of Genesis 1, verse 29, not part of Genesis 9, verse 4, and they're not part of Leviticus. They're not part of Deuteronomy. They're not part of Luke. They're not part of the book of Jubilees. You do not have a priest of God and high priest to sanctify these things for you, number one, and number two. So you're definitely not in a position to eat them now, because there's no one who's sanctifying them and making them unclean. Meat, chicken, turkey, cow, ox, pig, goat, sheep, lamb, and etc. Whatever you want to add to this that you're eating as your meat, they need to go. Seafood, fish, shrimp, lobster, crab, octopus, and etc. fall in the same line as item number one. Dairy, definitely you want to keep that out your diet. It does more harm than good. Milk, cheese, butter, and etc. They do a lot of harm, especially for women. It does a lot of harm. Do some research on dairy and see what impact it has on your pH balance, your hormonal system, and your time of the month as well, how it throws that off. Eggs, that's coming from an animal. Dairy as well, the same thing. Starchy food. Starchy foods are what are man-made food. They're man-made, created by man. So man takes a original food or vegetable or fruit and does some additional work to it to try to splice it into another fruit, vegetable, or something that he wants to create much faster than nature would give it to him. So he does a lot of splicing to it. And once you splice, there's always a starch or an acidic bonding agent to bring two plants together that are not naturally made to be bonded together. And once that's done, you get a starchy type of vegetable or fruit or grain. And you don't want that in your body, because once you pull starch in, it starts to weaken the body, because it's something unnatural and it's more acidic in nature, and it's going to bring down the pH of the body, bring down the vitality of the body. Sugar and sugary food goes without saying. Those are going to bring the body down entirely and give you some tooth problem, at the end of the day. And you don't want that. Going back to 7, which ties into 5, vegetables and fruits created by man. These are hybrid vegetables and fruits. Do your own search to find out what's hybrid and what's non-hybrid. For me, when I'm in doubt, I go back to the best researcher that God had created for the children of Israel. There's no one that can beat that researcher, no matter which way they slice it. And the best researcher he has given us on food, Dr. Sebi, hands down, no matter what anyone says. He is the person that was ordained by the Most High to come at that particular point in time to do all the necessary research that we as children are going to need to know at this point in time. Continuing with what to consume, food warmed up or cooked by microwave put electromagnetic in your food, which brings down the natural magnetism that's flowing through your body, and which is cancerous. So you don't want microwave food. Whether you're eating it microwave or you're warming up your previously cooked food, don't want to use the microwave. Use something with flame, a gas-lighted stove or oven or something to warm your food up. Processed food, definitely don't want that. Stay away from processed food. Fast food, definitely don't want that, because again, that's processed food used to make the fast food. Don't want it in you. Those two foods are extremely acidic and extremely starchy, and you're only going to weaken your body, and it has no nourishment in it. Soda, artificial juices and drinks, artificial powdered drink, like your protein shake and all that, You don't want those in your body that have a lot of unnatural ingredients in it. Look at the ingredients and see how many of it that you can pronounce the names of them. If you can pronounce 2 of them, you'll be very lucky, because they have a whole list of unknown names coming in from all kind of different chemicals and that are combined. Take a look for yourself and you'll see. Alcohol, definitely not. That weakens the body, weakens the system, and it's going to make you stumble and act out of character. These foods, they degrade the body in the extreme way, and they won't allow the body to flow its blood correctly. And if the body blood cannot flow correctly, the magnetism will have trouble circulating as well, and your etheric is going to have trouble as well. So keeping the body in line with the instructions given by God, Genesis 1 verse 29 and Genesis 9 verse 4, you are going to make sure the spirit man and woman has a divine connection with the physical man and woman. They'll be perfectly attuned. Let's get some other instructions out of the Bible. I want to keep this message closely tied to the Bible, letting you know I'm not making stuff up. I'm just giving you the message and the instructions as put in the Bible. Proverbs 15, verse 17. Better is a dinner of herbs, trees, herbs, and fruits, where love is, than a stalled ox, flesh, and hatred therein. Hatred is within the flesh. The unclean is within the flesh. That's why a priest of the children of Israel, a high priest, is generally required to remove that uncleanliness that's within the flesh before the children of Israel can eat it. But our high priests have been all killed off and have long forgotten who they are and the knowledge that they once had. So there's no one here to do this for us. So you eating it on your own is doing exactly what the Gentile, the serpent, the hybrid have put in place for you to do, to weaken yourself and lose that connection between your spiritual self and your physical self, and lose your image of God. Romans 14, verse 17. This one is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but the message is the message. And we'll read it together. For the kingdom of God is not meat and drink. We'll stop there. Let's go back to the kingdom of God. The kingdom is you. It's within you. It's inside of you. So in finding that spiritual image of God that is within you, it's not through meat and through drink. So those are not the way. But through righteousness, through following the laws, the 12 laws, 2 statutes, and obeying those 2 things, and peace and joy in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. So that's how you find that kingdom, not through the meat and the drinking and the food, but through righteousness. That's how you're going to find it. Let's move on further with Romans 14, verse 21. It digs a little bit more into that meat and drink. It is good neither to eat flesh nor to drink wine, nor anything whereby thy brother stumbleth. So let's pause there for a second. So what is it saying? It's not good to eat flesh, and it's not good to drink wine, liquor, nor anything similar to that that's going to make you stumble or your fellow man stumble. So when you're drinking your wine, your bottle service, and your Henny and your this and that, all you're doing is weakening yourself, and you're going to stumble. And it's evident. I mean, after you drink, you start feeling lightheaded, you start feeling giddy, and perhaps you don't even know what happened after that, depending on how much you drink. But when you stumble, it meaning you're going to do wrong and you're not going to follow the laws of God. Let's read on. Or is offended. You're going to get hurt by it now, by someone drinking. Are you drinking? How many of us have people around us drinking and it's hurting you because they're doing things out of character when they drink? So it's going to offend. or is made weak. You're going to be weakened by the meat, the flesh, and you're going to be weakened by the wine, the liquor. There's no doubt warnings on top of warnings being given what these things are going to do. The flesh, weakening. You're going to be offensive to people. You're going to stumble. The liquor, the same. I've covered quite a bit of instructions given by God and the Lord Thoth and other prophets that were given the same information to come to the children of Israel and let them know what's going on. Now, I can't give you all that information without giving you solutions. What to do, what can you do, how can you go about knowing what to eat, what not to eat? Because out there in the market right now is a maze of information, disinformation, and trickery in order to get people to stay on the roller coaster of bad food, bad health, hospital, more bills, and then ultimately an untimely death. I will bring part 1 of this message to a close, and in part 2 we'll cover the question that's posed here, what to eat and drink, which is of the laws of God. We'll cover that in more detail. I'll give you practical examples that you can use in your everyday life. With that said, I want to wish you a very pleasant day and continue being blessed and continue on this journey to find your true spiritual self. Take care and have a wonderful day.